Hello friends, this is Nishant Gautam, Associate Professor from the Department of Pharmacology, Laureate Institute of Pharmacy. Friends, after the successful discussion about synthesis, storage, release and metabolism of histamine along with its pathophysiological, physiological role and histaminergic receptors in part 1 and part 2. Today, we will continue the remaining portion of this chapter in this last third part. So, let us start to know more about the pharmacological concepts of histamine and antihistaminics. As already we know more about the histaminergic receptors, now let us discuss in short about its mechanism and the functions subserved through these three histaminergic receptors. So let us discuss one by one about these three kind of the histaminergic receptors. The first one is the H1 receptors. The H1 agonism is responsible for the release of calcium from intracellular store and it mediates the smooth muscle contraction. It increases the capillary permeability, vasodilation, and through sensory nerve ending, it mediates the pain and itching. Then the second histaminergic receptor is the H2 receptor. The agonism of this H2 receptor is responsible for the adenyl cyclase activation and the increase in CAMP formation, and it mediates the increase in gastric acid secretion, and in blood vessel it produces the vasodilation and also it elicits the increased capillary permeability. Whereas the third histaminergic receptor, that is the H3 receptor, also called as the presynaptic autoreceptors, it is responsible for the decrease in the CAMP formation and it mediates the decrease in histamine release and decrease in the secretion and the vasodilation. So this is how these three kind of histaminergic receptors showing the different actions through the different mechanisms. Now let us summarize some major effects of histamine with the help of this table. Please focus here to discuss all the effects one by one at different tissue level of the respective organs. The first organ is the lungs. Here, histamine is responsible for bronchoconstriction, due to which it elicits an important clinical manifestation, that is asthma-like symptoms through the histaminergic H1 receptor. Then, secondly, on vascular smooth muscle, histamine is responsible for post-capillary venule dilation, terminal arteriole dilation, and the venoconstriction. So it elicits the clinical manifestation, that is the erythema, through the H1 histaminergic receptor. And on the vascular endothelium, histamine is responsible for contraction and the separation of endothelial cells. So it elicits the edema, wheal response through the histaminergic H1 receptor. And whereas on the peripheral nerves, it is responsible for the sensitization of the afferent nerve terminals. So it elicits the itching and pain as a clinical manifestation through the H1 histaminergic receptor. And if you will talk about the heart, it is responsible for minor increase in heart rate and contractility. But the clinical manifestation is very minor through the histaminergic H2 receptor. Then, in case of the stomach, histamine increases gastric acid secretion and peptic ulcer disease and heartburn is elicited as the clinical manifestation through the histaminergic H2 receptor. Whereas in the CNS, it acts as a neurotransmitter and elicits the circadian rhythms and wakefulness through the histaminergic H3 receptor. So likewise, and this is how the histaminergic receptors showing the different effect at the different tissue level and the organ level, and they are showing some clinical manifestations. So these are the major effect of histamine. Then have a look on adverse effect of histamine release. The histamine release may cause itching, may cause urticaria, may cause hypotension, tachycardia, bronchospasm, wakefulness and decrease in the appetite. And also it is responsible for the increase in the acidity. Also we can say the release of histamine is responsible for the increase in gastric acid secretion as an adverse effect. Then, in continuation to this, histamine release as an adverse effect may cause the angioedema. So, what is angioedema? Angioedema is swelling in the deep layers of the skin and other tissues. It may be accompanied by an itchy raised rashes. Other symptoms may include abdominal pain, shortness of breath, dizziness and fainting. Then the histamine release as an adverse effect may cause the flushing and the hives. So what are hives? Just see the forehead of this lady in the picture of angioedema. The itchy raised rash is there. The hive word is denoted. So what is hives? It is known medically as urticaria, and hives are smooth raised pink or white bumps that appear on or beneath the skin. Now let us discuss about the histamine related drugs. The histamine related drug is the beta histine. The beta histine is an orally active, somewhat H1 selective histamine analog, which is used to control vertigo in a patient of Meniere's disease. Possibly, it acts by causing the vasodilation in the inner ear. It is contraindicated in asthmatics and the ulcer patients. And if you will talk about the drug and dose, the name of the marketed drug is the Vertin, available in the 8 mg tablet, and it is given half to 1 tablet quarter in time. And as we discussed, this beta histine is effective only orally. Friends, as we know, unusual histamine release may cause some adverse effects, and its excess secretion is responsible for pathophysiological effects, whose clinical manifestations depend on the site of release of histamine, that is the organ or the tissue through the different histaminergic receptors. So, by 3 ways histamine can be antagonized. Let us discuss one by one. Number 1, the physiological antagonism of histamine by the use of epinephrine. Epinephrine have smooth muscle actions opposite to those of histamine, but they act at different receptors. So this is important clinically because injection of epinephrine can be life-saving in systemic anaphylaxis. Through the mast cell release inhibitors, for example, we are using the sodium chromoglycate, and through the histamine receptor antagonists. The histamine receptor antagonists are most important clinical approach to antagonize the histamine. So these are the three ways by which we can antagonize the action of histamine. In continuation to previous discussion, that was three ways to antagonize the histamine. Let us elaborate our knowledge by some examples of disease treated with respect to their therapeutic strategies. Please focus on this table. Here I mentioned the three different strategies to treat the three different conditions. The first one is the treatment of allergies. The allergies can be treated by the strategy to administer the inverse agonist of histamine receptor. For example, the pharmacological agent that is the diphenhydramine. Actually, the diphenhydramine is first generation H1 histamine that acts as inverse agonist at H1 receptors. Here I want to clear one thing. H1 antihistamine are not receptor antagonists but are inverse agonists in that they produce the opposite effect on the receptor to histamine. Consequently, the preferred term to define these drugs is the H1 antihistamine rather than the histamine antagonist. Then, in the same strategy, we are using the another pharmacological agent, that is the loratadine. Actually, the loratadine is second generation drug and is a tricyclic antihistamine which acts as a selective inverse agonist of peripheral histamine H1 receptors. Then, if you will see the second type of the strategy, that is to treat the asthma, here we are using the drugs which can stabilize the mast cell or the drugs which can prevent the mast cell degranulation. They are the cromolyn and nidocromil. These both the agents we are using to stabilize the mast cell and to treat the asthma. Then the third therapeutic strategy to treat the anaphylaxis with the help of epinephrine. It is the administer of the physiologic antagonist to counter the pathological effect of the histamine. So this effect of epinephrine already we discussed. So this is how the three strategies are applied to treat the different type of the conditions which are produced due to the effect of histamine. Then, as we discussed the three different ways to antagonize the histamine, one of them, the third way, was the histamine receptor antagonists, which is the most important clinical approach along with the mast cell stabilizers. Let us elaborate one by one the mast cell stabilizers like cromolyn sodium, nitocromyl sodium, the trade name is Tilate, and the albuterol. Then the second is the H1 receptor antagonists, the first and the second generation drugs. Then the H2 receptor antagonists, they are the ranitidine and the cimetidine. And if you will talk about the H3 receptor, that is the presynaptic autoreceptors, here we will apply the H3 receptor agonist as well as the antagonist to stabilize the release of the histamine. The potent new drugs being developed, for example, ciproxifen, it belongs to a novel chemical series of histamine H3 receptor antagonist. In vitro, it behaved as a competitive antagonist at H3 autoreceptor controlling the histamine release from the synaptosome. Whereas on another hand, the another drug, that is the GSK 189254, are novel histamine H3 receptor antagonist in Alzheimer's disease. it improves the cognitive performance in preclinical models. So, in this way, we can antagonize the histamine receptor and control the release of histamine by also stabilizing the mast cells. In continuation to histamine receptor antagonism among all, the most clinically used class is H1 antagonists, whereas H2 antagonists is mostly used to reduce the gastric acid secretion from the parietal cells of the stomach. So, let us discuss the histamine H1 antagonist. It is categorized into the two subtypes, the first generation and the second generation drugs. The pharmacological features of the first generation drug is that they are having the sedative properties. These first generation drugs are neutral at physiological pH. These first generation drugs can cross the blood brain barrier where they block the action of histaminergic neurons in the CNS. And in addition to this, the first generation drug are having the anticholinergic property. Whereas on another hand, the second generation drugs are having the non-sedative property, means they are non-sedating in nature. They ionize at the physiological pH and they cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. And also the second generation H1 antagonist devoid of anticholinergic effects. So this is how the H1 antagonists are categorized into the two subcategories and the two classes. Now, if we see the clinical classification, the H1 antagonist, which is having sedative property, it is categorized into the three categories on the basis of their strength of sedative property. We can understand the same with the help of this simple table. So please focus on this table to discuss one by one. The first class is the highly sedative drugs. In this category, the drugs are the diphenhydramine, dimenhydrinate, promethazine and hydroxyzine. And if you will see, the second class is the moderately sedative drugs. In this category, the drugs are phenyramine, cyproheptadine, maclazine, buclazine and cinnarizine. Then the third category is the mild sedative drugs. In this category, the drugs comes the chlorpheniramine and the dexchlorpheniramine, dimethindine, triprolidine, mabhydroline, cyclizine and clemastine. Then the second category is the second generation of antihistaminics. In this category, the drugs comes under this category are fexofenadine, loratadine, desloratadine, cetirizine, levocetirizine, azilastine, mesolastine, avastin, rupatadine. So this is how the H1 antihistaminics are classified on the clinical basis. Now let us discuss the classification on the basis of substituted side chain. We can say the chemical structural classification. The antihistaminic drugs are divided into 6 subgroups based on their substituted side chains. So first focus on this basic structure of first generation antihistamine. It consists of two aromatic rings linked to a substituted ethylamine backbone, and based on their substituted side chain, the antihistaminic drugs are categorized into the categories. The first one is the ethanolamines, the second is the ethylene diamines, then the third one is the alkylamines, the fourth one is the piperazine, and the fifth one is the phenothiazine, and the sixth one is the piperidines. Likewise, the antihistaminic drugs are divided into 6 subgroups based on their substituted side chains. Now, let us discuss the more precise classification, means a classification on both the bases together, clinical as well as molecular, with the clinical effects of individual drugs. In this classification, the first class is the first generation antihistaminics. In this first generation antihistaminics, the first category is the ethanolamines. In this ethanolamines, the first drug is carbinoxamine. The brand name is Clistin and the adult dose is 4 to 8 mg and it can produce the slight to moderate sedation. Then the second drug in the same category is the diamine that is the sort of diphenhydramine and it is available under the brand Dramamine and the dose of the drug is to adult is the 50 mg and it can produce the marked sedation and the anti-motion sickness activity. Then the third drug under the same category is the diphenhydramine available under the brand Benadryl and the adult dose is 25 to 50 mg and this drug can produce the marked sedation with the anti-motion sickness activity. And the fourth drug under this category is doxylamine and the adult dose of the same drug is 1.25 to 25 mg and it can produce the marked sedation and now available only in OTC as a sleep aid. Then the second category of first generation antihistaminic is the ethylamine diamines and under this category the drugs are pyrilamine and available under the brand Neoantergan and its adult dose is 25 to 50 mg and it can produce the moderate sedation, also a component of OTC as a sleep aid. And the second drug of this category is triperilamine and its adult dose is 25 to 50 mg and it can produce the moderate sedation. Then the third category of the first generation antihistaminics is the piperazine derivatives and under this category the drugs are hydroxyzine which is available under the brand Atarax and its adult dose is 15 to 100 mg and it can produce the marked sedation. Then the second drug of the same category is the cyclizine available under the brand Merizine and its adult dose is 25 to 50 mg and it can produce the slight sedation anti-motion sickness activity. And the third drug under this category is Maclizine which is available under the brand Bonine and its adult dose is 25 to 50 mg and it can produce the slight sedation and the anti-motion sickness activity. Then the fourth category of the first generation antihistaminic drugs is the alkylamines. In the alkylamines, the example of drug is the brompheniramine and available under the brand Dimethane and its adult dose is 4 to 8 mg and it can produce the slight sedation. Then the second drug of the same category is the chlorpheniramine available under the brand chlortrimeton and its adult dose is 4 to 8 mg and it can produce the slight sedation and it is the common component of OTC and it is used as a cold medication. Then the fifth category of the first generation antihistaminic drugs is the phenothiazine derivatives. Under the phenothiazine derivatives, the drugs comes promethazine and it is available under the brand name Phenergan and its adult dose is 10 to 25 mg and it can produce marked sedation and the antiemetic effect. Another category of the first generation antihistaminics is the miscellaneous category. Under this category, the drug is the cyproheptadine, available under the brand name Paroxetine, and its adult dose is the 4 mg, and it can produce the moderate sedation, also has anti-serotonin activity. Then let us discuss about the second generation antihistaminics. In the second generation antihistaminics, the first category is the piperidis. Under the piperidis, the drug is fexofenadine. It is available under the brand Allegra, and its adult dose is 60 mg, and it can produce the effect as an antihistaminics with the lower risk of arrhythmia. In the second generation antihistaminics, under the miscellaneous category, the drugs are loratadine, and it is available under the brand Claritin, and its adult dose is 10 mg, and it is showing the longer action as compared to the other antihistaminics. And under the same miscellaneous category, the another drug is the cetirizine, available under the brand Ziltig, and its adult dose is 5 to 10 mg. This is how the first generation and the second generation drugs are classified on both the basis together, clinical as well as molecular, with their clinical effects of the individual drugs. So let us summarize about first generation antihistaminic drugs. The example of first generation antihistaminic drugs are: number 1, ethanolamines. Under this category, the drug is diphenhydramine and clemastine. The diphenhydramine available under the brand Benadryl, and the clemastine available under the brand name Tavist. The second category of the first generation agent is the ethylene diamine, and the drug comes under the category of this tripanylamine. Then the third category is the alkylamine. Under the alkylamine, the name of the drug is chlorpheniramine, which is available under the brand name chlortrimetone. And the fourth category of first generation agent is the phenothiazine. Under the phenothiazine, the name of the drug is promethazine, which is available under the brand name Phenergan. Then the last and the fifth category is piperazines. Under this category, the drugs are hydroxyzine, which is available under the brand name Vistaril, and cyclazine, which is available under the brand name Antivet. So this is how the 5 categories are there in the first generation agents, and these are the drugs which belongs to these 5 categories. Now let us discuss the pharmacodynamics of antihistaminic drugs. Actually, the pharmacological actions of H1 antagonist could be attributed to their H1 muscarinic, alpha adrenergic, or serotonergic actions. What happens? The antagonize of histamine actions, for example, to treat the edema. There is the edema due to capillary permeability, and it is a vascular response, and the antihistaminic action is there on the smooth muscle of the blood vessel, so that it elicits a antihistaminic response, and it can cure the edema. These effects are utilized clinically for the allergy. Then the second pharmacodynamic of antihistaminic drug is the sedation. Sedation mainly elicit by the first generation antihistaminic drugs. So here the question arises, is it the sedative effect of first generation is useful for the patient? Please wait and give some time to think. Is it the first generation drug is useful for the patient for the sedative action? The answer is yes. Why? Because we know that it is given to provide the relief from the itching and pain, which is mediated through H1 histamine receptor due to sensitization of the afferent nerve terminal of the peripheral nerves. Then the third pharmacodynamic of the antihistaminic drug, they produces the anti-nausea and anti-emetic actions, mostly by the first generation antihistaminic drugs. Then the third action of antihistaminic drug, they are showing the anticholinergic property. Mostly it is elicited by the first generation antihistaminic drugs. Then the fourth is the antihistaminic drugs are strong serotonin block, mainly by the cyproheptadine. Then the antihistaminic drugs are useful to decrease the bronchial and the nasal secretions. And also the antihistaminic drugs acts as a local anesthetics, or they potentiates the effect of local anesthetics. So these are the pharmacodynamics of the antihistaminic drugs. Now let us discuss about the use of first generation antihistaminic drugs. The first generation antihistaminic drugs are used as an adjunctive in anaphylaxis and other cases where histamine release can occur. Also, the H2 antagonist and epinephrine must also be used in the anaphylaxis cases. On another hand, the first generation antihistaminic drugs are used to treat the allergic rhinitis, allergic dermatosis, contact dermatitis, and the urticaria as an anti-allergic drugs. The first generation antihistaminic drugs are used to treat the vertigo as an anti-vertigo drug, mainly maclizine. Then the first generation antihistaminic agent, that is the maclizine and cyclizine, is used to prevent the motion sickness. Further, the first generation antihistaminic drugs are used as an anti-emetic. In case of the pregnancy, the nausea and vomiting is there. For such condition, we are using doxylamine. It is available under the brand name Bendectin R. Further, the first generation antihistaminic drug promethazine is used as a prophylactic drug for the motion sickness. Then the first generation antihistaminic drug used as a sedative or sleep aid. Then the first generation antihistaminic drugs, that is the diphenhydramine, it is used as an local anesthetic. Then the first generation antihistaminic drug, that is the diphenhydramine, is also used as anti-tissue to treat the common cold. So these are the several uses of the first generation antihistaminic drugs. Now, after the pharmacodynamics and use of first generation antihistaminic drugs, let us discuss its pharmacokinetics. The first generation antihistaminic drugs are rapidly absorbed after the oral administration with peak blood concentration occurring in 1 to 2 hours. The first generation antihistaminic drugs are widely distributed throughout the body, and the first generation drugs enters the CNS readily. Also, the placental transfer is there. And further, some of them are extensively metabolized primarily by microsomal system in the liver, and they are excreted through the kidney by the renal elimination. In continuation to this, the H1 antihistaminic drugs have an effective duration of action of 4 to 6 hours following a single dose, whereas the maclazine and several second generation agents are longer acting with a duration of action of 12 to 24 hours. Then, in addition to this, the newer agents are considerably less lipid soluble than the first generation drugs and are substrates of the P-glycoprotein transporter in blood-brain barrier. So, as a result, they enter the CNS with difficulty or not at all. So, here the question arises, what is the P-glycoprotein? Can you give the answer P-glycoprotein? So, P-glycoprotein is permeability glycoprotein. Actually, the P-glycoprotein is a plasma membrane protein which acts as a localized drug transport mechanism. It actively exporting the drugs out of the cell. Now, let us discuss the adverse effect of first generation antihistaminic agents. These agents may produce the sedation, but the paradoxical excitation in case of the children's. These agents as an adverse effect may produce the decrease in alertness and the motor incoordination, also the tendency to fall in sleep. The first generation antihistaminic agent as an adverse effect may show the dizziness. So what is dizziness? Dizziness is the condition of the false sensation that you and your surrounding are spinning or moving, like feeling is there. And another adverse effect is the fatigue and the tachydysrhythmias in the overdose cases. But tachydysrhythmia is very rare as an adverse effect. In continuation to this, some more adverse effect of antihistaminic drugs are the allergic reactions with topical use, and if you will talk about the peripheral antimuscarinic effects as an adverse effect, you will find the dry mouth, blurred vision, constipation, and the urinary retention. So these are the major adverse effect of the first generation antihistaminic drugs. Then let us discuss about the drug interactions with that of the first generation antihistaminic drugs. Some drugs that inhibits the cytochrome P450 may increase the cardiac toxicity of the piperidine derivatives. Some of the antimicrobial drugs that inhibits the metabolism of many drugs by the cytochrome P3A4 and causes the significant increase in the blood concentration of the antihistamines. And the first generation antihistaminic drugs produces the additive effect with the classical antimuscarinics. And if you will talk about the CNS depressants, the first generation antihistaminic drugs potentiates the CNS depressant effect. For example, of opioids, effect of sedatives, effect of general and narcotic analgesic, and the effect of alcohol is potentiated by the first generation antihistamine drugs. Now, after the complete discussion about histamine H1 receptor antagonist, let us discuss about the histamine H2 receptor antagonists. The H2 receptor antagonists, also called as the H2 blockers, they reversibly and competitively inhibits the binding of histamine to the H2 receptors, so that they results in the suppression of gastric acid secretion. Further, the H2 receptor antagonists also indirectly decrease the gastrin and acetylcholine induced gastric acid secretion. And if you will talk about the drugs cimetidine, ranitidine, nizatidine and famotidine, all the four drugs are well tolerated in general. Then if you will talk about the adverse effects of histamine H2 receptor antagonists, these adverse effects are very occasional and very minor. They may include the diarrhea, headache, muscle pain, constipation, and fatigue. And in addition to this, the H2 receptor antagonists may induce the constipation and hallucination in some of the patients. Now, have a look on the second generation antihistaminic agents. They are the fexofenadine, estimizole, loratadine, cetirizine, levocetirizine, azelastine, terfenadine, and the uses of second generation antihistaminic agents are they used in allergic rhinitis, allergic dermatitis, allergic conjunctivitis, urticaria, and the common cold. So these was the second generation antihistaminic agents which are used to treat mainly the allergic diseases, urticaria, and the common cold. Now, let us know about some key points of second generation antihistaminic agents. If you see, these piperidines are the drugs in that the estimazole is having the slow onset of action and it is withdrawn because it is showing the major adverse effect, that is the arrhythmia. Then mostly the second generation antihistaminic agent used is the fexofenadine, available under the brand name Allegra, and it is having the lower risk of the arrhythmia. Then the miscellaneous category, in this miscellaneous category, the two drugs are there, loratadine and cetirizine. The loratadine under the brand name it is available, that is the Claritine, and the cetirizine available under the brand name that is the Zaratic, and both the drugs having the longer action with no arrhythmia. This is the very key point of the second generation antihistaminic drugs. Now, let us discuss the advantages of second generation antihistaminics. So, before that, just do focus on this graph. Here, the relative drowsiness is shown and the four drugs are compared. The loratadine and fixofenadine having relatively low drowsiness as compared to that of the cetirizine and the atrivestine. So, because of their lower potential to induce drowsiness, loratadine and fixofenadine may be recommended for individuals working in jobs where wakefulness is critical. Now, let us discuss one by one the advantages of second generation antihistaminics. The second generation antihistaminics have no cholinergic side effects. Secondly, the second generation antihistaminics cannot cross the blood brain barrier. So, because of this, they have the minimal or no drowsiness and the sedative effect. Then, the second generation antihistaminic drugs do not impair psychomotor performances. Now, let us discuss about the pharmacokinetics of antihistaminic drug, that is the second generation antihistaminic drug. The cetirizine, loratadine, fixofenadine well absorbed and are excreted mainly as unmetabolized form. Further, the cetirizine and loratadine are primarily excreted in the urine, whereas fixofenadine is primarily excreted in the feces, and they induces the cytochrome P450 liver enzymes. Now, let us discuss the drug interaction and the adverse effect of the second generation antihistaminic agents. In general, these second generation antihistaminic agents have a lower incidence of adverse effect than that of the first generation agents. Further, the two drugs terfenadine available under the market name Seldane and the another drug, that is the astimizole, available under the market name Ismenal, were removed from the market due to its effect on cardiac potassium channel because it is showing the effect by prolonging the QT interval of the ECG graph, and it is capable to produce the potential fatal arrhythmia, that also we can say the torsion D point. Further, the interesting thing is that the fixofenadine, which is a perfect drug, is an active metabolite of the terfenadine. So nowadays we are using the fixofenadine in spite of the terfenadine. Then the cetirizine appears to have a more CNS action, means the more CNS depressant effect than the fixofenadine or the loratadine. So recommended that the cetirizine not to be used by the pilots. Then the another thing, the erythromycin and ketoconazole inhibits the metabolism of fixofenadine and loratadine in many healthy subjects. This caused no adverse effect. So this is the interaction and the adverse drug effect of the second generation drugs. Then, after the successful discussion about the H1 histamine receptor and the H2 histamine receptor antagonists, let us discuss about the H3 and H4 antihistaminic agents. Till date, no drug directed against the H3 and H4 have been approved for the clinical use. Whereas the H3 receptors are thought to provide the feedback inhibition of certain effect of histamine in central nervous system and in the enterochromaffin-like cells. And in animal studies, the H3 receptor antagonists include the wakefulness and improves the attention. Also, some of the drugs used in the animals are the thiopyramide, clobenpropate, ciproxifen, proxifen. And further, the H4 receptor antagonists represent a promising area of drug development to treat the inflammatory conditions that involve the mast cell and eosinophils. So, till date, the no drugs directed against the H3 and H4 have been approved for clinical use. So, it is still under the clinical trial for the clinical purposes, for future perspectives, and for new treatments. They are still in search. Friends, that's the end of this chapter. Revise the topic from the book. Have a nice day and thank you.